Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Lesson 9. We'll be talking a lot about lists, arrays, and enums. So I'll be explaining those in detail, hopefully, and then I will also be getting you to the point where you could create the game and view the map, right? Because that's the team assignment. Then I'll talk a little bit about the individual assignment. But let's first talk about what you need to do for this team assignment. So first of all, if you haven't done so already, you need to make sure that the things in your model work together. For instance, my player has a list of items for an inventory, has a list of heroes for a team, has a single location where they currently are. These relationships, if you don't have them in your model layer yet, you'll need to start adding them. Granted, some of them could be added as you develop, and you don't need to add all the ones in your UML diagram, just as you need them. And you'll start needing them as we code this week's assignment, which is setting up the game, like creating the new game. So what we're going to want to do is in our main menu view, when the player chooses start new game, we have this create new game, and then we take them to the game menu. So what we're going to do is flesh out this create new game method to make it more fully functional. So I've already kind of done a little bit of this, just barely started. I'll be doing a lot more in this video, but I just want to explain what I've done so far. So I create a brand new game. I set the player up on that game. And this game instance, this G, I want to be able to get to it from anywhere in my game, right? I'll need to access it from this view and that view and that view and that view. And to do that, I need to create that static instance. And we have that already on our main class, right? The class that has our main method. We have these two static variables, player and game, and the setters and getters for both of those. So in my program controller, I'm going to create the game, and then I'm going to set the game so that I can get to it from anywhere. So I've created the game, I set the player up on the game, I need to set the map up for the game as well, and then I'll set up all the inventory that's going to be scattered throughout the map, the heroes that are going to be scattered throughout the map. All of that stuff I'll need to do as well. So that's what the team assignment mostly is getting that stuff set up so that we can start the game, I guess. Okay, so I create a new game map. I'm going to use my map constructor here, and what I've done is I think the assignment has you override the map constructor with number of rows and number of columns. I have these final. If you want to change map sizes or have your player pick map sizes, you won't want these as final ints. But my map's always going to be the same size. So I create that new matrix or the two-dimensional array. And then I created this init method, right? This init method is going to be the method that sets up all the locations in my map. And I have my map's random. A lot of you will have specific maps where you're going to set the location at 0, 0 to be this particular location, the location at 0, 1 to be this one. And you'll have the same map every time, and that's totally fine. Mine's random. So you'll just do things a little differently than me. So I iterate over each row and each column. This is how you iterate over a two-dimensional array. You always have to go over each row and each column. I create a new location to be stored at each cell in my two-dimensional array. And then I set the type of the location to a random location type. And this is an enum, right? So if I jump over to location types, you see I've created an enum for location type. The assignment also mentions that you can use an enum, like change one of your things to an enum, like inventory. And I can show you how that would be done as well. They're not typically done that way as commonly as just having a specific location type enum as a property of your object. So you can see location type is just really a property, right? It's either going to be a park, a neighborhood, or downtown. And so in my map, I'm going to set the location type, right? I have a location type on my location. And so I set it to a random one is what this line does. And if you want me, I can explain it real quickly as well. Location type.values gets me all the different possible location types there are in an array. And then I want to take a random number between 0 and the maximum number of different types of locations there are. So I get location types.values.length. So if I have 3, this value will be 3. And math.random gives me a value between 0 and 1. And so 0.5 times 3 will be 1.5. I round that as I cast that to an int, which I believe just truncates the decimal. So that'll end up being location 1 out of 3. So this works. And if you want to copy it, that's totally fine. If you want to set your location specifically, you'll need to create a location. Instead of doing this in a loop, you'll just say location, place A gets new location, set up all place A, and then say your two-dimensional array, at spot 0, 0 gets, space A. And then do the whole thing for the second spot, third spot, fourth spot, fifth spot, whatever, however many you want. So it won't be as concise, but it'll work still. Okay, so I initialize my map, right, in my program controller, and then I set the map of the game. I set the map of the game to that newly created map, and then I start the player off in the location 0, 0, and then I set the game like I said I did. So this creates the player and the map. The map is a whole bunch of empty locations. Well, they exist as locations. They have location types, but there's nothing interesting about them other than their type. And I'll show you how I would make them more interesting. So let me quickly first go to, let me run this. Well, I'll show you one other thing that I did and that you'll have to do is in your game menu view, you'll want a view map option. And what all I do is I output, and you can see here, this is where I'm getting my game and my map, right? From anywhere in my program, I can get the game, and my game has my player and my map. So I can get the map that's on the current game, and then I can get the map string. And regardless of how you have implemented your map, this will almost be the same for everyone, where you'll iterate over every cell in your map, and you'll build out this string that will display the map in a nice, easy-to-read form. So you can see here, I just get the location at the row and column as I'm iterating over it. I get the type, and then I get the name property of that enum, which is going to be, which is going to be either park, neighborhood, or downtown. And then I get the character at the first part of it, so it's either going to be P, N, or D. And then I add a tab character. And so for every row, so the outer loop is rows, so I'll start at row 0, I'll output every column on the same line, and then I'll add a new line after I finish that all the columns in the row. Then I'll go to row number 1, which again, rows are 0 indexed, everything's 0 indexed. And then I'll output all the columns in row 1, then I'll add a new line, then all row 2. And so if I run this, you can see that when I start a new game, well, it works the way, well, it doesn't crash at least. But I can view the map, and you can see that this is downtown, neighborhood, downtown, park, downtown, neighborhood, park, downtown, neighborhood, downtown, right? So this is my map. This is actually location 0, 0. I know a lot of in math and everything, this is location 0, 0. And we could do that. We could flip this, but it doesn't really matter to me. We're going to just call this location 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. And so just top left is where we're going to start. If you want to make it bottom left, that's totally fine. And you can figure that out. And I know my player starts at position 0, 0, so I know I'm here. And something interesting, like I said, I developed my map randomly. So if I start a brand new game, I should see a different map. So PDP instead of DND. So I know my map is actually random, so that's good. But I can't really do anything yet, obviously. I can't search for people. I can't move, right? And you don't have to do movement, but you may want to do like the searching for people or searching for items option, because creating the lists of items and setting them up is part of this week's assignment. And so what we're going to do that is in our program controller, Let's create a new method, and we'll have this return a list of item, and this will be create. Actually, mine does. Well, I think my game does have items, but I don't have them implemented that yet. So let's do heroes because that's effectively my items. They're gonna go between different locations and find heroes or captives or villains. So I'm gonna create hero list here, and obviously it needs me to import list and import hero. And then it's complaining because I don't have this returning anything. So let's create a list of heroes, and we'll call this hero list. And there is no constructor for list. List is an interface. If you want to use a list, you'll want to use array list. That's the most common list in Java. And actually, you don't need that in the constructor in Java 8. And that's what we want. And so, and then we'll want to return this hero list. And that should take care of our exception. Yep. Okay, so we have a new hero list, but it's empty. We need to populate it with some heroes. So we'll say hero, I don't know, Superman gets new hero. And just because I named the variable Superman doesn't mean this hero is actually Superman yet. I need to set his name, and apparently my hero class is missing a whole bunch of things. So I'm going to jump over to the hero class, and it's missing everything. So let's make a private string name, private double hit points, private double attack points. And then I'll create a constructor and getters and setters for all those. And now I have my hero class ready to go. Oops. Oh, of course, you never implemented serializable, which I'll need. So, okay, hero class is ready to go. So now I can set the name, and I can make him Superman. And maybe Superman has, I don't know, 10 hit points and has 2 attack points. And then I can create, and then before I create another hero, I need to make sure to add him to the hero list. Otherwise, he still doesn't get added to my game, right? So then I can copy and paste this and do that as many times as I want. So let's do Batman because he's common, right? Or we're familiar with those two. And maybe Batman only has 5 hit points, but he can do 4 attack points or something. So I can just mess with those. I could even make those random numbers, which would be different each game using math.rand. But I'm going to do them static numbers for now. Okay, so I only have 2 for now. I can make as many as I want, but I'm just going to stick with the 2. And then I need to add them to the map, right? So I created the map, created the hero list. I need to put them together, and I want to put them randomly in my locations. Again, you don't have to do random. You could do it, you know, position 1, 2 has Superman, position 4, 0 has Batman or whatever. I like random. So first I'm going to, well, I'm just going to create another method because we like divide and conquer. I'm going to call it populate map with heroes. Heroes with an E. And I'm going to write that method right down here. And it doesn't need to return anything because I've already got the map. Well, oh, I need to pass in the map though. So let's pass in the game map. Populate map with heroes. Map. I'm just going to call it map down here. And from here, I first need that list of heroes. If I don't have that list of heroes, I have nothing to populate. So I'm going to call that create heroes list method that I just created and get that list of heroes. And then I'm going to create, or I'm going to add them to the locations. Let me make sure location has a hero. It does. It's already set up. So, let's randomly assign them to locations. So how I'm going to do that is, as long as I have heroes, or I'm going to iterate over my list of heroes for each hero. So there's different kinds of loops, even for loops, while loops, everything. There's a for each loop, and I'm going to show you that here. Instead of doing for int I gets 0 and all of that stuff, you can just say for each hero h in heroes, and then I have this h variable, which is my hero. So for each hero in heroes, I'm going to attempt to place them, and if I fail, I'm going to keep trying until I place them. And I'm going to place them in a location that doesn't have a hero. So let me just first plop them in a random location, and then we'll add the while condition if it fails. So I'm going to generate two random numbers, a row number and a column number, between 0 and the maximum number of rows I have, and the 0 and the maximum number of columns I have. So I'm going to create an int row gets math.rand, not round, random, times, and I have this static property on map. Is it public? No, it's private. So I'm going to make these public so I can access them from anywhere. So now I can say, so I want the number of rows here, and then I need to cast this as an int so that it rounds it. And then I'm going to copy this line and do the exact same thing for columns. And then I'm going to just get the location. So I have the map. I'm going to get the location. And this is a method I wrote. It's just really useful to have. Instead of having to call get matrix and then do sub row, sub column, I like just having a get location method. It makes things a little bit clearer. So I'm going to call this get location at row column. And then I'm going to set the hero on that location to this hero H. So I'm going to keep doing that until I run out of heroes, and then my map will have plenty of heroes. Unfortunately, right now, row and column might end up being the same for 2 or 3 different heroes, which will replace the hero. I don't want that, so I need to add a check. I want to stay on this hero, so I want like a do while. So, So my NetBeans instance crashed because I tried to run the formatter for whatever reason. So I got to get back to where I was. And here it is. Okay. And actually, I'm going to stop the video here to make sure that because I had to close and reopen the NetBeans window, that my recorder's still working. So this is end of part 1. Part 2, I will add the check and everything else that I talked about. So yeah, that's it for part 1.